What is going on, guys? We are back playing some more Surviving with Mekanism. Now today, guys, we're going to be messing around with a water-cooled fusion reactor. So last episode we set up the fusion reactor, and that's actually what you can hear. It's running right down here. Now I'm not going to be really covering much about setting up the fusion reactor itself, considering we did just go over that. So if you don't already know about that or have one set up, I would suggest you go out and check the other video. But today we're going to be going over the more complicated way of setting it up, which is going to involve the fusion reactor taking in a bunch of water, and when I say a bunch, I mean just a ton of water, turning it into steam for the most part, or it's going to turn all the water into steam, but you're still going to get some power generation passively, and then you're going to be able to put that steam into an industrial turbine. Now, we also have a video on the industrial turbine. It's sitting right back there, but we use that with the boiler and not with the fusion reactor, so it's going to be a ton more effective today. We're going to be setting up the same exact one, so it's going to have a little bit different to it, but it's pretty much the same specifications. So there is a lot to do today, which is why I've already done most of the crafting, but hopefully it can help you guys out with you actually being able to set this up on your own. So the reason that I have an extra chest here is because of how much we have going on. Now, first off, I want to say this is a little bit weird, but I had some old turbine casings and I've made them across 3 different updates. And so I don't know what's up with these, but if I like place certain ones down and then break them, they can stack with other ones, but not with each other. So it's kind of weird how it works. I don't know. But once I place all these down, they should be able to stack with each other, but I had some left over from when we set up the other turbine. So that's taking up a little bit of extra space, but I have a ton of pumps in here. The reason behind that is pumps are really the only way for me to get water, and we need all these pumps, including reclaiming the water from the turbine, and that's still not even going to be enough to max out our fusion reactor on how much water it's going to need to turn into steam. So if you do have Mekanism in a mod pack, I would highly suggest that you have some other way of getting water for this. There's definitely better ways. The electric pumps are going to burn through energy, but that really won't be an issue. It's just that we need so many of them that it's kind of annoying. But we've got all the stuff for setting up the turbine, and I have a little bit extra this time just because I wasn't sure the exact size I wanted to make it. Now, a little precursor to setting that up, your turbine does not have to be the same as mine. If you watch the actual industrial turbine video, you will know that there's a lot of different limiting factors that come along with how you set it up. It's not just one static way of setting it up. So you're going to want to customize this whole setup based on your injection rate of the fusion reactor, how much steam you're producing by putting water in, all that different stuff. But I think I found a pretty good setup that works and stabilizes for me. So the first thing we're going to do is take all these pumps and set them up, because those are pretty much the most crucial aspect to all this outside of the fusion reactor. And I guess I can dump all the rest of this junk in here too, because we need as much space as possible, and we still aren't even going to have enough. And then all of these, oh, didn't mean to place that down. All of these things in here are speed upgrades that took forever to make, but they should be full speed upgrades for all of these pumps. So this basically follows the go big or go home mentality that I get to at the end of a Surviving With series, because it will be coming to a close eventually. But so what we need to do now is actually, I should have more universal cables with us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place these down and we'll get some pumps down to start off, but it'd be a little bit easier. I think I'm going to run the universal cables like this. So along here, and then we'll run the electric pumps along here, and it'd be a lot easier to place these down if I had the cables there to start. So I think that's actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go grab some more cables beforehand, and then we'll put them down just because it makes it so they're oriented towards the cables. It makes things a little bit easier. So universal cable right there. So we got the basic ones, which is why I've got all these alloys in here. And can we grab out? Oh, we're still a little bit short on space. Man, are we one short right now? We are. Okay, the dropper, we don't need that. Okay, so we should have all of our pumps now. We're going to have to grab the mechanical pipes too, but we're going to be doing the alloy upgrades. I've gone over this before, but it's a neat little trick if you don't know about this. So we'll throw down all of the basic universal cable, and obviously this is not going to transport nearly enough power, so we'll throw them down along here too. And once we line this, you can grab out your alloys, and instead of going and crafting, if you guys don't already know, the recipe is basically 8 of the initial tiers of cables, and then you have 1 alloy to upgrade it with. So we've got our basic, or our enriched alloy, and we're going to click it right here, and it's going to upgrade 8 of these. It's unfortunate because it didn't clip the last one, so we're going to have to wait until we connect them just so we don't waste any of it. But then we can click it down here, it upgrades those, click it right there, and it upgrades all of these. So hopefully that would have been 1 short, because this should be 15 long to fit all 30 in here. But then what we can do is grab out the reinforced alloy and we can do that upgrade again. So there, it'll get all those, and then here, and one more down here. The one thing I'm not sure about is if it matters where you click, based on if it'll overlap at all. So if I were to click it here and then click like right here, if it would affect it at all. But let's try clicking there. Okay, so it looks like it works pretty similar to what I thought. Okay, so these are upgraded now for the most part, except this one lonely cable down there. But we're going to finish throwing these on here, and the reason I did this with the cables is just because you could rotate these with the configurator if you wanted to, but it'd be a little bit more of a hassle because they pretty much orient themselves perfectly if you do this. So let's get in here and throw the rest of these down. Ooh, I should fill this up with water first, actually. Yeah, okay, so I left my buckets upstairs. Gotta go grab that. You can see why I did all the crafting off camera, because it does take a fair bit of time just to set up all the different intricate parts of this. And it's not even really intricate parts so much. Ooh, we do not have an infinite pool in here anymore, do we? No, we don't. And we don't have any buckets in here that are full of water, do we? No, we do not. Okay, so we gotta take a little trip outside. Oh gosh, okay, so I haven't loaded this. Fair warning. We're probably gonna get a bunch of lag. Do we have anything in here? No, these are all useless. Okay. We gotta make our way over to the water, but I haven't loaded any of these chunks yet, so this could be interesting. I don't have any mechanism stuff out here, so it shouldn't be difficult to load, but I really don't know why I'm missing an infinity pool. Whatever, okay, so there we go. It'll be really easy to fill in, and I should actually probably sleep before we do that, because if you guys don't know, oh, there's the lag. If you don't know, I use windmills over here, but over there where all my mechanism stuff is set up, that's in a chunk that's loaded, I have solar panels, so we actually stop producing all the stuff needed to fuel a reactor when it's nighttime. And on top of that, you have the solar activators that you need, so even if it wasn't powered by solar, you'd be losing out on half your fuel. So just something to keep in mind. So now we're going to be filling this up, and I got to be smart about this because we also need to get our other pipes down here, our mechanical pipes. So yay for not animated water. Thank you, Optifine. Okay, so we can just keep filling this up like so, all the way down here, and there we go. We're missing one. Oh, can we get under there easily? There we go. Okay, so these should all be able to pump this out. Now, I really have to say, it's just, I always say this whenever I'm using pumps, but it is the greatest thing ever that you do not need to have an infinite pool below pumps anymore, because with all the speed upgrades, it just would ruin this. It would take so much water to do all this. Okay, so now the worst part comes here, where we get to throw in all of our upgrades. So again, we're going to do that on camera just because why not? This could be a little bit of a longer episode, but this is one of the later things in Mekanism, so I just wanted to let you guys know a couple things. Kind of while we're doing this, I guess. We're not going to have enough room for all this stuff, are we? We have our mechanical pipes. We don't need any more cables right now. Get the rest of these mechanical pipes. 64 will be enough. See if we can get all these speed upgrades. We won't be able to. I'll have to drop some of them in later. Oh, we're so close. We are so close. Whatever. We'll get the rest of those later. They'll be close enough to the front. We should be able to get them pretty easily. But we are pretty much nearing the end of the Mekanism series, and I've really enjoyed this series. But the reason I wanted to talk about this really briefly is just because this is kind of tedious work anyway, but I've been thinking about stuff, and at the end of every Surviving With series, it's a tough decision whether I keep doing miscellaneous things or not. Now, a lot of people will be like, oh, you missed certain things, like we didn't go over the seismic reader, but that's really not an integral part of Mekanism. It's just kind of a side thing you could use. So I don't know if I save those till the end. I usually try and do the most interesting stuff at the end, so that's always the fusion reactors. You know, when we were doing things, I got into kind of more intricate projects in the immersive engineering one, but that doesn't really translate so well over to these, considering I've already done some projects like that. But I don't know whether to just kind of keep going because people like the series and the mod, or if I stop and start a new mod because, you know, we've gone through all the stuff that needs informative videos on it. And, you know, so feel free to give your opinion in the comments. I'm sure it'll probably be relatively split, but now that we've got the Avant 3 series going, we can take a little bit more time. So I'm trying to keep this one, rather than doing a bunch of projects in this series and doing my rambling, which of course coincidentally I'm doing right now. But instead of doing all this in this series and trying to make it both informative and more of like a let's play, doing the let's play aspects of stuff in the Avant 3 series, and taking my time with mods and doing intricate builds, and then on top of that, keeping this series more informative and kind of not more like a spotlight, but more just to the point and stuff like that. So feel free to let me know. We do still have a couple episodes left after this as far as I'm aware, but I just thought I'd give you guys a heads up before that actually becomes kind of an issue. Okay, so this should have speed upgrades in it. So all these have speed upgrades in them. This thing is really bothering my OCD right now. Like, it's freaking me out. But now we are on to hooking up the mechanical pipes. We'll do our upgrades on those, and then we will be good to hook up the power relatively soon. So we'll do... Oh, no, okay, so we gotta get this. So we'll do 8, and then we gotta upgrade them so we can actually do this. So we got 8 right there, and the best idea would be to pull all these out, and I really hope I have enough, but... So we'll do that, and then that, and because of the sheer amount of water that we're gonna be transporting, I am going to just upgrade all of these. So, boom, 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 there we go. Let's just make sure there's no green hanging out back there in case I miscounted, which I really hope I didn't, but if I did mess up remedial math, I'm sure you guys would call me out on it. I'd find out in the comments. I always find that out. Okay, so that should be all good. Now what it comes down to is deciding on the inputs. So I did go back and add a couple more this always shows up as reactor controllers. Thanks, Waila. It shows up as reactor controllers, but this is actually a reactor port because you of course need to input water in here. So we've got our typical inputs for the deuterium and the tritium, and that is all good. That is all working fine. We've got our power output, and this is actually what we're going to hook up to this water. So we can actually hook that up right now. We can break this and we can hook it up, and this should be perfectly fine to sustain itself, except I don't have our power down here. That's great. We should actually have enough inventory room now to fill it up with like all the other stuff so we don't have to keep taking trips up here. So let's grab this, all this stuff. We don't need the holorum. Actually, we can grab this out. Okay, so we've basically got everything back in our inventory now, and we can stay down here for as long as we need, finishing up this project. So we can rewire this over to, where is it? Universal cable. We're going to have to upgrade these, but we can wire this over because this is what's going to be giving power to all this good stuff over here. So let's wire it like so, because we can walk through the other way, and then let's upgrade these right here. Oh, perfect. Okay. So upgrade that and that. Boom. Okay, so now it's all upgraded. These are all pumping. They're filling up these huge mechanical pipes up here. Now, the reason that this is going to be able to burn through energy is because these don't have energy upgrades in them. I didn't feel like making them because this produces enough energy for the time being to run all of this, no issue. So now we need to start putting water in here, and I'm going to wait to hook this up until we're all good and ready, because the minute I hook it up, it's going to start decreasing the temp and producing steam. But one thing I wanted to hit you guys up with is just a little tip, because it can get a little annoying to have to constantly restart this reactor. But what you might not know is unless you break the reactor controller, it does not lose its heat. And the reason that's important is because if it's at a minimum heat, which it should be at while it's running, if you were to break a block and quickly replace it and you had a filled holorum, or however you pronounce it, up in the reactor controller, it would immediately restart. So let's fly right up here. I broke this block over here so we could check it out. If we come in here, I actually already have a holorum in there. I have a backup one in here in case I wanted to restart it on camera. But basically, if we go to heat, you can see that it's at 149.72 mega Kelvin. And if we go to statistics, the ignition temp is 100. So if you break it, it doesn't have enough time if you immediately replace a block to drop all of that heat, so it'll immediately ignite again. Now, right now, we're getting a decent generation, but if we were to switch over to water-cooled, which it says the minimum injection rate is 4, it'll run on 2, but it'll start decreasing in temp eventually. But basically, it'll passively generate 125 kilojoules a tick, and then steam, it'll produce 75 millibuckets a tick maximum. So the reason that's important is because we're going to be producing significantly less than the maximum for the reactor, which means if I wanted to, I could add like double the amount of pumps and still not max out our reactor steam production. So that's just something to keep in mind. I am not fully maxing it out today, But basically, the passive generation, which is 125 kilojoules per tick, is going to be coming directly out as power, just like we're having the 500 kilojoules a tick now. You can pump that out, and that is what's going to be going to our pumps right now to keep them fed. And then the steam is going to be coming out of another output, and that is going to be going into the turbine, which should get us roughly, I think it's like 2.5 megakelvin a tick. So it's given us a lot of power. So what we need to do now is start setting that up, and that's going to go over here. I've got the output for steam right here, and we're going to use this over here as the input for the liquid. So we can actually start running this over just so that we can keep track of all this. So let's run it. Oh, okay, so it only needs to go up here. So let's get up there like so. Oh, I went up one too far. Something to just keep in mind while you're working with this is it's good to spread these out onto different sides, because eventually when you're pulling the steam out, that's going to come out of mechanical pipe and you don't want them to overlap. I just put that in, so the steam is now in there. Well, okay, if we want to take a look, we can go see now the steam is in there. I said I wasn't going to do that, but I did. But we should have steam in here now. If we go into heat, we can see that we have steam. We produced a ton of steam. So it went down a little bit in temperature, and it'll slowly go back up. But the reason you want it at a higher injection rate is because it'll keep it at a higher temp and allow it to produce a higher amount of steam when you start putting that in. So we're not going to do what I just accidentally did. We're going to go over here and we're going to set up the turbine. Now it's occurring to me that this is a little bit loud in the background, so hopefully it doesn't bother you guys too much. But I know I always think things are loud and then they're not loud, so you know, you guys always point that out. But we're going to be setting up a 5x5x8 turbine, same as we did before. So I'll just briefly cover this. So we're going to put down all of these blocks. Oh no, it failed me. InventoryTweaks failed me. It gave me the wrong blocks. So we're going to be placing all of these down, the turbine casings to fill in the bottom. You can see that they, ooh, are these not the same block? They look a little different. Why do they look different? Is that just the lighting? I guess it's just the lighting. They looked a little different to me for a second there. I guess they all kind of look a little different. They've all got a little tint to them. Oh, we don't want stuff to go there. So we want to do this, the 5x5 on the bottom. Now it's got to be by odd numbers, so you could do a 7x7, but you need to have a center block here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to run this up to the ceiling, because that would be 8, and we are just going to kind of go around here like this, and we're not going to even fill in this front side right now, just because we do have some other stuff that we need to put up there that we otherwise would not be able to access if we covered the front side like we did with the bottom. So we're going to put this up here all the way up on all the sides, because this is pretty much going to be the edge, and then we'll put some structural glass in later. But we're going to go like that, and actually, you know what, we can fill in the top right now if we want to, because this is just going to be the top layer. We just can't fill in the front right over here, because we're going to need to access portions up there. So what we can do now, and we're going to have to kind of mine out blocks around this just to get to certain ports that we need. But what we can do now is throw down 4 different turbine rotors. Now these are going to be going in the center, so whatever size you put down, these are going to go in the center. And we're going to put down 4, so like that. And once we get those down, we're going to put down the rotational complex right above those. So that's kind of where the kinetic energy is going to come from, and it's going to be transferred into electrical energy, because this is going to keep spinning from the steam, and that's going to end up charging stuff. Now around the rotational complex, that is where you are going to be putting, where are the pressure dispersers? Right here. So you're going to be putting your pressure dispersers there. So for us, we're going to need 8 pressure dispersers. So you're going to circle all the way around there. And there we go. So we're going to have those, and now that we've got those, we can put down on the outside of those. Actually, I was going to say we can put down turbine casing, but I won't do that yet. We can put down turbine casings all along these edges right here. So from the pressure dispersers and up, we can do our turbine casing, and no, it is failing me again. We need the last stack of casing right there, thanks InventoryTweaks, and we can do the same thing over here. So we can fill in those top blocks, and we can do the same thing on the back here. It's only important that we can access the layer above that from the front. So we've got all this. Now what we're going to do is take out our turbines, which I have 10 of. We're only going to need 8. You need 2, or you can use 2 per each of the turbine rotors. So you can click on the top one and they'll start filling in the bottom. And much like the rotary craft, or I guess reactor craft, it'll kind of get bigger as it goes up. So there we go. We've got 8 blades. And what we can do now is take and start filling in the back with structural glass. So we're just going to be filling this in here. It's pretty much interchangeable. You can use the casing if you want. I just prefer to be able to see through this. So this side doesn't actually need to be structural glass. I just like it how it looks with that. And that's how I've made the other one. So we're going to fill these in, and we'll worry about the ports on the front side. But the last thing that we need to do, and I'm starting to get some lag down here building all this stuff looking at the reactor, because that's got some crazy particle effects in there. But we're going to be filling in the top, which is going to use electromagnetic coils for generating power, and it's going to use saturating condensers, which allows for the steam process to be reusable as water. Now this will help us a little bit with reclaiming the water and using it again in our system. So we're going to put it as the 4 corners. So there, and then there, and there. Now the reason we're doing this is because the electromagnetic coils all need to be touching the rotational complex. So we're going to be putting those here, 5 of them, in kind of a plus symbol. They need to be connecting, so that's why I'm doing it with the corners. Just make sure the texture is connecting. It's hard to see here, but the texture will connect if you put them down and they are adjacent to each other, not diagonal. So now that we've got all those down, we can actually cover this up. So we're going to be using a turbine casing right here. And I actually forgot, we're going to end up breaking, I guess we can break these blocks right here and get around to this side, because right here, these 3 blocks are going to be turbine vents, which I could eventually use later. I'm just putting them down now, and we'll see why in a little bit. But we're going to put those down there, and then we're going to put 3 vents down here in the front. Now this is where we're going to get our water back from. But before we do that, we're going to take the turbine valves and the last part of the structural glass, and we're going to put those down, and then we'll worry about pumping the steam in. So we're going to put 1 vent here, and that is going to be for the steam. And eventually we will get, or the valve there for the steam, and then we'll have to put 1 down for power, which eventually I guess we could do right over here. Why not? And then the water is going to come out up here. So just important to keep in mind that you don't want the water to be going in the same spot as the steam, because the pipes will link up. And then we can fill this last part in with structural glass, and this should be able to form if we've done everything correctly. There we go. So we've got our industrial turbine. It's got a max flow of 96,000 millibuckets per tick, a capacity of, what is that, 6,400,000 millibuckets of steam. And you'll be able to see the steam input, the internal buffer, power. You're able to dump the steam in there, and you can see the flow rate in production. And if we look at statistics, and this is where I was going to talk about customization, you can see the volume of the tank based on size. You can see the steam flow and production and how it's affected by the different blocks you put into the structure. So 8 blades is limiting the production, 5 coils is more than enough. There will always be a limiting factor in each, because until you max it out, one of them is going to be less than the rest. So the dispersers are not limiting the steam flow, the vents are, which is why I added a couple extra for later on. But we've got 8 blades, 5 coils, 6 vents, 8 dispersers at a maximum production of 2.74 megajoules per tick. And we've got max water output of 128,000 millibuckets per tick, which is pretty good if we start recycling it. So all we need to do is hook up the steam that is going to be coming out of this over here, and that can go, I guess that can actually go right here, and then the power can come out over here if we want, or vice versa. Actually, I'll go the other way around, but we can hook up mechanical pipe right there, and that'll be going in, and we can just bring it up. It's got to connect right here, so we'll bring it over and then up, and I'm going to wait to hook it up, but we do need to, actually, no, we got to hook it up right now just so that the upgrades work across all this. So this should start running theoretically. Yeah, so steam should be flowing through there. This is going to start running, but the transfer rate between this is really low. So we do have to upgrade this a little bit. So do 1, that's enough for all those, 2, 3. And you can see it's now spinning a lot faster. It's transferred pretty much all the steam into here right away, immediately. Now it's in here, so this actually should have generated a fair bit of power. Yeah, so it's already got almost 50 megajoules just from that. Now, if you're using this effectively, this method will produce more power than the other method because it's more complicated. But what we can do now is start reclaiming the water, bringing it back, and finally hook it all up together. So water should be able to come out of here that's being reclaimed. You can pump it out of any of these if you really want, but we got to make sure it doesn't come in contact with this mechanical pipe right here, which is why we're going to go up, and we can actually loop it right here and just break this pipe to keep it more even. And we'll grab that down here and come back up, and we'll just bring it around over here, and all of these will connect right here. So all we got to do is upgrade these. So there we go there, and I might need to go get a little bit more alloy. Actually, I think we'll have enough. Yep, looks like we have pretty much just enough. So all of this stuff should be upgraded in here. We're not going to be pulling the power out of here yet. It's perfectly okay to keep this system running because it should not run out. I'm actually going to go check that it's not nighttime so that we are producing stuff still and our whole system doesn't stop. Oh, it is nighttime. So we're going to sleep, and then we're going to finally... Ooh, one of the blocks flew up here. That happened last time when I was working with the turbine and broke blocks. But we're going to grab this real quick, and then we'll head downstairs. We'll connect it all. I'll show you guys how it works, and then we will call it a day. Okay, so this whole thing is running. We're going to come up here, and we're going to change it to an injection rate of 4, so we're getting a little bit better production. So we can go into fuel, change this to an injection rate of 4, and we can head back down. It should be heating up now, and we can finally connect all this water right in here. And I forgot, oh, this is not going to be upgraded. We need one more enriched alloy, guys. Oh my gosh, I definitely have it up there, but we got to head back upstairs. So much going upstairs, what I wouldn't give for wireless storage right now. Okay, so we got the enriched alloy, we've got all that we need. Now we can head back downstairs and finish things off. So we'll hook this up. It's going to start out really slow because this is going to be a bottleneck right here. But we'll hook that up, and then we'll upgrade. This is such a waste. Upgrade, upgrade. Okay, so now we should have steam going in here, and this thing is flying. So the steam input is going up right now a ton. It is producing a ton of power in here, and it actually might not be able to handle this much steam. It should get input roughly to 70, but between 70 and 80,000 millibuckets per tick. It should be able to handle that amount, but yeah, so you can see it's getting close to its maximum amount, since the max is 2.74. So I actually might have miscalculated a little bit on how much we're going to be getting from this, but it looks like this is going to cap out soon at its power generation, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. That's a ton of power. Look at how much we've got right now. Almost 2 gigajoules. That is absurd. Okay, it looks like it's stabilizing a little bit. Is it stabilizing? Okay, it looks like it's stabilizing a little bit. So this should eventually stop going up, I think. It's stabilized at 92,000 millibuckets per tick. So basically anything after this, we're just losing power. But the power in this system, let's check out the whole system because we looked at that for the statistics. Let's take a look at our fusion reactor and see how things are doing. So we can look at our statistics here. You'll see that if we wanted passive generation, it would give us 1 megajoule per tick. But compared to what we're getting right now, that is absurd. Like, it's so small compared to that's almost a third of what we were getting right now. If we were to perfectly, min-max this. And you can see right now that we're currently inserting a little bit less than 100,000 millibuckets per tick, but that's basically 2/3 of what we could be making. So if we up the input on water, we could be making even more. We're getting passively 250 kilojoules per tick, which is pretty much a quarter of what we would get from passive generation already, and that's what should be powering all of our pumps. And so if we go to fuel, you can see this is perfectly fine. We got an injection rate of 4, and heat, we still are maintaining 1 gigajoule because this is more than enough to deal with the non-energy upgraded pumps. So if I really wanted to, I could add another 15 pumps on there. That should be able to give us pretty much enough water to max out at 150,000 millibuckets a tick. And the heat should stabilize relatively soon. It's still going up because we upgraded to a rate of 4, and this is going up. The internal steam buffer is now getting filled up, so clearly I did not make a big enough turbine over here, but that's perfectly okay. I don't plan on really using this power for anything. There's nothing I could really use it for anyway other than just storing it, but you can see it's now come to a halt because this right here is completely full of power. It's not pumping anything else in there. If we really wanted to, we could dump the steam. I don't know why we want to do that, but we can. So I think that's going to be it for today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. If you did, please feel free to give it a like, as it does help me out a lot. And it did take forever to get everything set up for this episode. Luckily, I did only have 1 exam this week, which is actually a lot less than I normally have. I usually have 2. Oh wait, no, I did have 2 exams this week. Never mind. I had organic chemistry and environmental engineering exams, but one was earlier in the week. I had my environmental engineering exam today, but I managed to prep for this and get it all done. So I wanted to get it out to you guys as soon as possible, since I knew a lot of you were looking forward to this. So yeah, I would really appreciate a like. It was a ton of work putting it together, but again, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video and at least learned something, and I will talk to you guys later.